several games, and I noticed that Monopoly wasn't over here. I was going to have it up here to show it while I talk about this. But how do you win Monopoly? Is when I ask that question in a crowd of people, it's crazy how much people have their own strategy, how much some people have just totally thought this out. They know exactly what to buy, when to buy it, how to do it. Believe it or not, there are whole books written on how to win Monopoly and the best strategies. And I'm not good at Monopoly. I've never won Monopoly, so I don't play Monopoly. I don't play things I can't win, and I don't do things I'm not the best at. So I'm just kidding. But Monopoly is a long game, and that's primarily why I don't play it. I played with my brother for 2 days one time, and then I just quit. The only Monopoly I really like is McDonald's. It's not hard to play. You just eat and pull a piece off and get free stuff. If Monopoly was like that, I'd play it all the time. There are whole books, there are whole websites, all kinds of how to win Monopoly. I was curious when I was preparing, when I thought about this, and I texted a lot of my friends. I have some strange friends, and I also have some very fun friends. And I asked them this question. I said, how do you win Monopoly? Let me tell you some of my favorite answers. Monopoly is pure luck. There's no strategy. And that's why it's a flawed game. Okay? It's okay. It said, get all the money. Okay? Thank you very much. Play until the other people get tired and quit. That's my strategy. Except I'm always more quit. Easy. Always cheap. I wondered when I was a kid why my brother was always getting money that he did not earn. He always wanted to be the banker. I never knew why. It's because there's the money right beside him. He would just take it out. Steal money from the person next to you when they're not looking. Again, my brother. Be the top hat piece because it wins every time. Depends on the piece. I like the car. Irrelevant. Easy. Punch everyone and steal their money in hotels. Colorful friends. This one's looking a step further. Bring a gun. This is the last one. This is my favorite. He said, buy land and put buildings on it and charge people rent until they can't pay. Basically, be a ruthless, cold-hearted jerk. Think, what would Jesus do? Then don't do that. One of my favorite friends in the whole world. The same friend I was telling other people about today when I was walking out of my wedding, instead of blowing bubbles on our way out to the car, he opened the container and threw the whole bubble container at me. It was a lot of fun. Had bubbles all over me. How do you win Monopoly? Monopoly is interesting because when Monopoly was first submitted to the Parker brothers, they rejected it. They rejected it because they said it had 52 fundamental errors of a board game. 52. And they sent him back the list of 52 errors. But you know what the number one error was? They said every game should technically have a start space and a finish space. And Monopoly doesn't. You know, you just keep going around the board. They said technically in this game, you could go round and round the board and never actually play the game of Monopoly. It's true. There are a lot of people who get up every morning and they eat breakfast and they go to school or they go to work. And then they maybe watch TV, and then they go have fun with their friends, or they work, they play, they do this, they go back to bed. They get up the next morning, they eat breakfast, they go to work, they do the same thing over and over again. And a lot of Christians do the same thing in their Christian walk. They go round and round the board of life and never ever play the game. They never get in there and do something big. They never make big change happen. They never live for God on purpose. You know, we ask our kids that question. When you have kids, you ask them when they do something wrong. As they get to an age where they can understand, you say, "Did you do it on purpose?" Right? And if they did it on purpose, then they're going to get probably a bigger punishment than they would before, or maybe no punishment if they did it on accident. I wonder if God would ask us that question and what we would say if we got to the judgment day and regarding life, God said, "Did you do it on purpose? Did you do life on purpose, or did you just get by?" You know, the number one thing that people said on their deathbeds at Johns Hopkins was what they regretted most about the one life. I wish I'd actually lived it. I wish I'd actually done something bigger. I wish I'd left a mark, because when I'm gone, a couple years from now, nobody's going to remember me. Nobody's going to remember anything that I did, and I didn't do anything that made a difference. When you go around and around the board in Monopoly, If you don't buy anything, everything else gets bought up. You can't remain neutral. As everything else gets bought up, eventually you're going to roll the dice. It's going to be your last roll. You're going to land on something that's going to take all your money, and you're done. You don't pass go. You don't collect $200, and it's over. In your life, every part of your life that you do not stake for God, every part of your life that you do not lay hold of for God is not neutral. It cannot be neutral. Everything you don't lay stake up is going to the devil. And all of those things in your life get bought up. And so if you're just getting by, waiting for the time in your life, maybe when you finish college, or maybe when you get married, or maybe when you have kids, to get all of these things in order and then really start living for God, it doesn't work that way. Because while you wait, none of those parts of your life remain neutral. Every one of it gets bought up, and eventually one day your life is going to end, and you don't know when that's going to be. Any roll could be your last, and you don't pass go, and you don't collect $200, and you end in a state where you own no part of your life. And then what do we say before God? John was from Brookline, Massachusetts, and he wrote 2 books, one of which won him a Pulitzer Prize. He also was a captain in World War II, and he was the youngest person to ever become the President of the United States. But while he was driving through Dallas, Texas, in my hometown, he was driving through and got shot in the head and killed on November 22nd, 1963. John Fitzgerald Kennedy never expected that November 22nd, 1963 would be his last day before he turned 80. Robert Greene, he graduated high school and went straight into the Navy. After that, he retired from there. He had 2 kids and a wonderful wife. They moved them all to Panama City. He became a cable television technician. One day while he's at work repairing somebody's television, he just falls over dead from a heart attack. August 15, 1982. Robert Greene never expected that August 15, 1982 would be the last day before his eternity. Crystal Campbell was a good daughter, a good friend. She loved pets, she loved people. In fact, she was supporting her friends on the sidelines as they ran the marathon. And on April 15, 2013, 2 bombs that went off at the Boston Marathon took Crystal Campbell's life. She never expected that April 15th, 2013 would be the last day before eternity. Yeah, we make plans. We make plans, we mark calendars, we fill schedules. Making plans does not buy time. Marking calendars does not ensure those days. And filling schedules does not ensure their completion. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? At this very moment in your life, is there something you're waiting on? Something you're waiting to happen? Maybe you're waiting on results from the test. Maybe you're waiting on results from something with a doctor. Maybe you're waiting on an answer for something. Maybe you're waiting on God for something. We all wait all the time. But in the grand scheme of things, when you pull away from all the small things and big things that you wait on, when I talk about life itself, what are you waiting for? Because doesn't it seem like we go to bed and we get up and we do almost the same thing every day, and it's just like, what in the world are we even doing here? Everybody, it's like the whole world is waiting for something to happen. Everybody goes through these routines, and it's like, what is this all coming to? What's going to be the big end of all of this? That's because Solomon said in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 that God put eternity into our hearts, and we know it's coming, and we behave like it's coming. Whether you believe in God or not, you live every day like something big is coming, and there's a reason to keep living because it's coming. But it pays to know what that thing is, otherwise you wait in vain. Jeffrey Canada grew up in the South Bronx, and down there he grew up without any father and no support from him. He grew up with violence and in broken homes, and he said the worst day of my life was when my mom told me that Superman didn't exist. He said, I cried and cried as a little kid, not just because he didn't exist, but because I was waiting on him. I was waiting on him, and that meant that there was nobody powerful enough that could come save us. Are you waiting on Superman? You could be. Because waiting on Superman is a failed attempt. Why? He doesn't exist. When we search for meaning and happiness and purpose in the next promotion, in graduating, in having kids, in getting married, in retiring. We're waiting on Superman. We're waiting on Superman because we're looking for something that doesn't exist. Because happiness and peace and meaning do not exist in those things. These things help to make up who you are. All of these things that you do in life are good things, and they make up who you are, and they change who you are. But no matter how often you change who you are, you can never change what you are. You can never change what you are. And what you are is a creature created in the image of God. And because of that, you have certain needs and certain purposes that only the Creator can give to its creation. You will never change the fact that you can live only to your fulfillment by living righteously and finding it in Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter what you change about your life, or what you get, or where you go, or who you become. It doesn't matter, because no matter what, you'll always be a creature in the image of God, which means that will always be your purpose. Always. You can't change it. The other day, I picked up a can opener, a handheld can opener, and used it as a hammer. I didn't have a hammer around. I didn't have anything. I was just looking for anything to nail this little nail into the wall, and I didn't want to make everybody around me look bad and just use my fist. So I'm just kidding. Now I picked up that can opener and I used it, and it took a while, a lot longer than a hammer would take to get in. It got the job done. And I got to thinking about this because I was preparing for this right here, and I got to thinking about the use of that. You can use a can opener as a hammer, and it'll work fine. You can use a can opener as a paperweight, and it'll get the job done. But it will never do anything as well as it opens cans. Why? Because that's what it was meant to do. You can try to live your life for anything other than God. You can try to live it for all kinds of things, and you may get by. But you will never do anything as well as you live for God. Because that's what you were made to do. Ali was considered, still is considered, the greatest fighter who ever lived. Okay? Not Anderson Silva. Sorry, fellas. For those of you who even know who that name is. Ali was considered one of the greatest fighters of all time, and he took a reporter out to his house once. This is a true story. Some people say it's a preacher story. It's not. It's true. But he took this guy out to his house, and they went into his barn, and he was showing the reporter around. And he's got this large barn out there, and he's got all of his trophies and pictures of him with championship belts. And as he goes through there, he's telling the story of his life, and he stops, and he just starts taking the pictures and turning them around. He takes pictures after picture and turns them around and faces them to the wall. And the guy says, "What are you doing? Why are you doing all this?" And he turns around and he says, "I had the world, man. I had the whole world. And it ain't nothing. It ain't nothing. The pursuit of happiness. We look for it. It's only in one place. It's in one place because it allows us to live with permanence. You know, we're not used to permanence, and we don't like it, do we? We're used to things that break. We're used to things that wear down. We're used to things that tear up. That's the nature of life. But we don't like it, do we? We want things that are permanent. We like things that will last. We don't like things that tear and break, but that's the nature of life. But guess what? The reason we don't like it, and the reason we as a species, as opposed to animals, even think about things like this, is because we were never meant to die. We were never meant to die. Things were never supposed to break down and wear out and just be destroyed. Before Adam and Eve sinned, none of that was supposed to happen. Your body lives for whims. It lives for food when it wants it, drink when it wants it, intimacy when it wants it, solitude when it wants it, just whims. And your body, if you follow those whims, you just do whatever it tells you to do. Your spirit doesn't live for things like that. And that's who you are. You're not your body, you're your soul. And your soul lives for things like permanence and purpose. So what you want more than anything, what every human being, whether they achieve it or not, wants, is they want to leave a mark. They want to leave a legacy. They want to do something that lasts. They want to know at the end of their life, did what I lived, did it matter in any way? Does it last? You know the name Curtis Strange? Anybody know that name? He was a golfer, and he golfed in the Masters tournament several years ago. He hit a hole-in-one that put him way up in the lead. He went over there so excited that he bent down and pulled the golf ball out of the hole, and in his excitement, he just flung it way off, and it went off into a lake. And reporters were astonished. There were a lot of people clapping, but a lot of people were shocked. And a reporter asked him afterwards, they said, "Why did you throw that hole-in-one golf ball away into the lake? You could have left that to your grandchildren as a great souvenir." And this is what he said: "If all I have to leave my grandchildren is a golf ball, I'll have a problem." What do you have? What are you leaving behind? If you died tonight, how far would what you've created in life continue to affect people? What are you building right now? You live not only with permanence, but you live with purpose. I say, what are you waiting for? And I say it now in light of all of this. If you know this, what are you waiting for? If you know that any day could be your last, if you know that what you really want and what your spirit wants is to do big things and to live for God, what are you waiting for right now? If you're not, if your life is not being lived on purpose, if you're just going through the motions, or if you're not a Christian and you haven't even begun to do that, because this is the moment right now when you break away from it. When you break away from pain and suffering and heartache and not having peace, when you break away from waiting on Superman and trying to squeeze out meaning and purpose from life, from jobs and from money and from children and family and whatever else it is you're trying to squeeze it out of. And open our ears to the only truth in all of what's going on here that matters. God so loved the world, He gave His only begotten Son. Whosoever believes in Him shall have life and shall not perish. That's it. That's what matters. In the end, that's all that matters. If you know that, but you don't have that, what are you waiting for? If you need that, I'm going to offer an invitation for you, and Scott can take care of you. Do you remember the end of Oliver Twist, or I think second chapter of Oliver Twist, if you've read it, when he's hungry and starving to death, and he comes up to the front, and he holds up his empty bowl, and he says Oliver Twist's famous line, "Please, sir, I want some more." You ever feel like that with your life? The monotony of it? You want more? You have the courage to stand up before the Creator tonight and say, "I've been living life going through the motions, but please, God, I want some more." If you do it right now.